Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin, and we are excited to be here tonight on a Thursday night. Glenn, I'm going to be honest. I'm excited. I'm a little nervous. I'm scared. Like, so many
because
things
of
are
the drama?
Yeah, all the things that are going on around the Baltimore Ravens. But nonetheless, it's going to be a really awesome show. We're really excited to have with us tonight as a special guest, Ingraven, and he'll be joining us for the majority of the show. Look, I don't know if Ingraven needs much of an introduction, but if you guys haven't checked out his channel, make sure to do so. If somehow you live under a rock and don't have any social media handles or ever watch YouTube and this is your first time on YouTube, then you might not know who he is. But if you don't, check out his channel, Ingravenvids. Make sure you give him a follow. But he is going to join us tonight to talk Ravens talk, the good, the bad, the ugly. So we're going to get right into it. I'm going to let him in here. There we go.
Sir.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I appreciate y'all having me on, man.
Oh, absolutely. It's a pleasure. The OG is in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
And certainly we remember when you came on when we were just a
podcast.
Yeah, podcast only,
Yeah.
no video. So always appreciate the kindness you showed us. So this is the least we can do. And excited to have you here. And what a day to have you here. I mean, my goodness, there hasn't been much in the news lately. Like, holy smokes, this has been crazy. So, of course, we got to jump right into the comments made initially by Eric DeCosta at the Combine, and then it gathered a quick response from Rashad Bateman. So I'm just going to put the comments up. That way, we can kind of read them together and go over this. And then I want to get your instant reaction on what's been going on because, man, I mean, I look at the Ravens as like a team that has a good reputation around the league, is well respected. And then this last week has been the exact opposite. So let's pull up the quotes right here. So if you guys can see on the screen, Sarah Ellison, shout out to Sarah. She posted some quotes from Eric DeCosta, and it was all surrounding this wide receiver position. And when I heard the quote, I knew it was going to be a problem. When so basically was asked, like, why haven't you? In other words, why haven't you guys been able to draft an all-pro at wide receiver when it seems like at every other position you have great success? And the quote that I think Bateman had a problem with was when he said, and this is the quote from Eric DeCosta, if I had an answer, that would probably mean I would have some better wide receivers. But we're going to keep swinging, and says that there have been some guys that have been successful players for us that were draft picks. We've just never really hit. And I think the rest of that is on that all-pro type of guy, and that's disappointing. And, of course, you can see on the screen, Rashad Bateman took great exception to that. And he says, how about you play to your players' strengths and stop pointing the finger at us and number 8. Blame the one you let do this. Can only assume he's talking about Greg Roman or John Harbaugh.
To me, I feel like John.
Okay. It says, we take the heat 24/7 and keep us healthy, which we're going to get into that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Care about us and see what happened. Ain't no promises, though. Tired of y'all lying and capping on the players for no reason. So, man, I mean, start wherever you'd like here, Ingraven, but I got to know, what were your thoughts when you initially saw and heard the comments from Eric DeCosta? Did you see this coming? And then, of course, your thoughts on Bateman's response.
I mean, with Eric DeCosta, I appreciated his honesty, his honest feelings about the wide receiver room. It's much different than, hey, we like our guys. And even when he said, hey, we like our guys, they went and drafted Bateman and signed Sammy Watkins afterwards. So I guess he didn't really like their guys back then. But when he said what he said about the wide receivers, it was real. Like, Ravens have obviously something that we all know, we've all discussed a lot. They've had a problem at the wide receiver position for a very, very long time. So him addressing it was not really a shock or anything like that. But the way that he did say it, you could see how that could rub somebody the wrong way. It's like the manager or owner of your company or GM of your company that you work for saying, hey, if I hired better employees, then we probably do a much better job. And that's pretty much, it can feel like a slap in the face because he's talking about you and your position group. And especially, I think Rashad Bateman probably took extra offense with him being a first-round pick. Because when you're a first-round pick, there are a lot higher expectations that are set for you, whether it's from other people or from yourself. So I think with Rashad Bateman, with him, his response to that, I think he probably was upset at Eric DaCosta. But then as you break down the different parts of the tweet, it looked like it was shots fired at literally everybody. At Eric DaCosta for calling them out, at Greg Roman for the not playing them to their strengths, not playing the receivers to their strengths, sometimes not even playing the receivers at all. But and then John Harbaugh for continuing to employ Greg Roman, because you know that's his call right there. So and then he went on to the health part, because we know with Rashad Bateman, he was squeaky clean in college. He was not hurt like at all. But then he gets to the NFL, his rookie season, he misses a chunk of time. His sophomore season, he misses a chunk of time. So it's like, hey, what's going on? Because you weren't injury prone in college. So what changed in the league? So I know it's like, that's why I feel like it was shots at literally everybody from top to bottom. So you could definitely tell he was frustrated in that now deleted, of course.
Yeah.
Quickly. Yes.
Yeah, no. I'll quick anecdote. This doesn't really compare, but I like to think that anybody that's in a sales role, it's similar to sports, and that it's the epitome of meritocracy, right? It doesn't matter who you are, who you know, you are what the scoreboard says you are. I had a boss once that we were on the phone and we had a disagreement on a sales call, and he said to me, "James, you're here because I want you here." And had nothing to do with what I had proven, what I could do for this company. And he said a few other things, but similar tone to EDC. And I was like, okay. And anyway, 2 days later I left. So
well, there's a twist.
Hey. Yeah. So, well, look, if he thinks he can get better people, then go get better people. So what I'm trying to say is I can relate to Rashad. When you're a competitor and you're out there every single day sacrificing, I'm not obviously sacrificing my body, but if I'm sacrificing my emotional well-being, time with my family, all these things to go out there to scratch, claw, and fight for a victory. And the best thing you got to say is, man, if I had better guys. Wow. Okay. Well, that's a real slide. I totally understood where Rashad was coming from, because think about all that one sacrifices when you play football. He's going through surgery. He's going through all this rehab and things like that. I don't think that EDC actually feels like Bateman doesn't have potential or he needs to. Like, to me, I think he was talking about all the other guys except Rashad.
and maybe Duvernay, but yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, Bateman, just like you said, Ingraven, like Bateman being the first round pick and being such a competitor was the first one to stand up and be like, hold on a second, especially when it's a person that hasn't done or isn't doing what you're doing.
What
you know what I mean? Well, so for example, Eric didn't play in the NFL.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he didn't go through all the things of, all the offseason rehabs and things that Rashad has done. He's had 2 surgeries already since he's been in the league, 2 rehabs and all those things. And so I can really side with him. 9 times out of 10, anybody that watches the show knows that I generally side with the Ravens because I believe in them as an organization. I didn't like the comment, and I can't even be that mad at Rashad for the rebuttal. So those are my thoughts, Glenn.
Yeah, see, I wonder what happens now, though. Like, what's gonna be next? Because we've seen this story before, where the Ravens first round pick, a wide receiver, calls out the offense via Twitter, and then ends up deleting the tweet. And they issue a public apology about it afterwards, but we saw what happened like about a year later after Hollywood did that. He got shipped off. So I wonder what's next, because this is obviously, in my opinion, I think this is the biggest offseason for Eric DaCosta in his short tenure as Ravens GM so far. The Ravens are like, this is, like you talked about earlier, they have this reputation. But they have been living off of that reputation for a while, because recently haven't been so reputable. And now, like, especially this year, over the past couple of years, you got all these guys calling different stuff out, all these guys wanting to leave, all these guys not being happy. Like, who would have thought that a player whose father played for the Baltimore Ravens, and then he gets drafted by the Baltimore Ravens, is a really good player, says, "Oh no, just trade me. I want to get out of here." That being Orlando Brown Jr. Who would have thought that he would have left? And now he obviously left in Super Bowl champion now. You look at Hayden Hurst, obviously, Hollywood Brown. There's been quite a few disgruntled guys. You look at earlier this year with Tyus Bowser, with the Greg Roman, fire Greg Roman papers. And that's like that's something that doesn't happen when things are going good. That's something that just doesn't happen when the locker room is in a good state. So things have been like slowly unraveling with the Ravens for a while. And now it seems like, because obviously we've been hearing story after story after story after story with the whole Lamar Jackson and contract thing. So who knows what's going on with that? My approach to that is just, hey, we don't know. We don't know. We're gonna continue to hear things every single day, but we just don't know. And we won't know till we know. But with even other things that are going on, it just seems like the locker room is coming apart.
Yeah, and that's certainly concerning. But should we look at the fact that they do now have Todd Monken at OC? They don't have Greg Roman. Right. And of course, I don't know if the timing was just impeccable or it was as soon as the story broke of the grade, the F- that Steve Saunders received, which Jimmy points out, you got to earn an F-. You can't fall into an F-. You have to be a world-class failure at your job to get an F-. Like, I was never a great student. I was the class clown of my graduating class, so I could be disruptive. But I never got a daggone F- in my life, and I never
solid
became
C
close.
plus B minus, baby, just for showing up. Just
exactly,
show up.
Like to get an F- is unbelievable. But he's no longer here either. So, Ingraven, do you think that the firing or mutual parting of ways between Greg Roman and this team, as well as Steve Saunders no longer being here, is that enough of a step to try and because perception's reality. Let's be honest. I mean, if this is the perception around the league that, hey, you go there, you won't get stronger, you'll get hurt, you won't develop as a wide receiver, you won't make any money. Like, that's not the perception we want here in Baltimore. Are these moves enough, at least a step in the right direction to eliminating some of that perception?
They are. They technically are. But sometimes I just wonder about what the motive was behind the moves. In my opinion, I think with Greg Roman, I think that's something that should have happened a couple of years ago, certainly last year. And even there were different points during this season where I felt like, all right, Ravens, just pull the plug. But they didn't. So, okay, cool, whatever. But with Steve Saunders, when you think about that one, and then the survey that went out, we just got the results of the survey yesterday. Steve Saunders was fired about a week and a half ago. About a week ago, if that. That survey, they didn't just send that survey out. That survey, it didn't get in the mail over the past couple of days. That's something that's been done and taken care of. So it really makes you wonder, because I don't want to have like a tinfoil hat on or anything like that, but it makes you wonder, like, did the Ravens just make this move because they knew the results of the survey and they knew it was going public? So to sort of try to get ahead of the curve a little bit,
like their hand had been forced.
Yeah. And like you just talked about, perception is reality. So maybe they were like, you know what? We got enough going on with Lamar Jackson already. A lot of people looking at us sideways right now. So, this whole thing with Steve Saunders, let's just go our separate ways. Let's try to get ahead of this whole survey thing because we know it's going public sooner or later. So let's cut bait, because like you said, you really got to go out of your way, put in extra effort to get an F-. And even on top of that, you got to put in even more effort to get an F-.
For real. I mean, that was just shocking to me. And Glenn, to your point, I think, or to at least to your question, this is my concern. It's tough for me to get there, but I was at the park with my son and wife today, and I was talking to my wife about this scenario because I rarely go here. I'm not the person that believes that the grass is greener on the other side. I think it's greener where you water it, like the saying goes, right? Like, it's really about your choices. And so, man, it concerns me that John, there might be some sort of a, like, how many times can you fire other people before it's been so many? Not that it's been so many things, but it's like death by a million paper cuts.
It's been so many things. It's okay. You can say.
But I mean, it's not like he's Urban Meyer or, like, you know what I mean? It's not the house is on fire.
Yeah, it's still a playoff team.
Yeah, but the point is that, like, are we finally at the point where it's not gonna feel right until they burn it down from a coaching standpoint and just start over and say, look, we're gonna bring in a new guy. He's gonna bring in his guys, and it's time for a new regime. This is the first time I've ever said this, that this could be the beginning of the end of the John Harbaugh era, because it seems to be there might be a disconnect between John and maybe some of the younger players. Mm-hmm. And that isn't something that you want to perpetuate. So that's my concern, Glenn. And it has me a little concerned.
And it should. It really should. Because it's something that we've talked about a lot too. Like a lot of people that didn't like Greg Roman. And I continue to say, like, hey, Ravens could fire Greg Roman tomorrow. But if John Harbaugh brings in another one of his guys, then it'll be the same process all over again. Hey, we don't like the offensive coordinator. This guy needs to get fired. Because we remember Mark Trestman. We remember Marty Mornhinweg. It's been different offensive coordinators over to even Cam Cameron. We remember the cycles because it's been a rinse and repeat at offensive coordinator. Obviously, Gary Kubiak, he did his thing and everybody loved him. And then he was like, oh, you know what? I'm out of here. So with John Harbaugh and then with the strength and conditioning coach with Steve Saunders and just watching the injuries, it really even going back to 2020, going back to the COVID year. The thing with Harbaugh is he's obviously not a bad person. He's very nice. We met him a couple of times, very nice guy. But with Harbaugh, it seems as if he is loyal to a fault. He obviously looks out for his people. He gives his friends a lot of jobs, and a lot of coaches do that. So Harbaugh is not some anomaly when it comes to hiring friends or family and whatnot. But when you do hire friends or family, people that you're close with outside of work, then that can make decisions that you have to make inside of work that much tougher. Like the tough decisions. Like, hey, if something isn't working out, you might be like, you know what? I really like this guy. I know they could turn it around. I know things ain't been working out, but I know they can turn it around. I believe in them. And he's a good guy. I'm going to give him another shot. And that just keeps prolonging the issue. And we've seen it in a lot of different areas. So when you look at everything with these Baltimore Ravens, especially after the Super Bowl, everything, like obviously Ed Reed, he's gone. Ray Lewis is gone. Terrell Suggs, he's gone. Lodi Nada's gone. A lot of those big personalities, those strong personalities, Anquan Bolden, he's gone. Everything really centers around John Harbaugh. This team has taken shape and taken the form of John Harbaugh. And it seems to have been just a lack since then. So is it the beginning of the end? It could be. And I think that with Todd Monken, when Harbaugh, there was the quote that was going crazy. I'm sure you all saw it yesterday about Harbaugh saying that he didn't get a chance to break down the film on Todd Monken's offense, and they still hired him. So I know a lot of people were concerned about that, but the way I looked at it, initially I was like, whoa, that's silly. How are you the head coach and you hire an offensive coordinator? You didn't even look at film on this guy? But then I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute. This, to me, in my opinion, that shows that this was not even necessarily a Harbaugh hire. I think that this hire went above Harbaugh. Maybe EDC was like, look, Harb, I got it. Don't worry about it. I'll pick the next offensive coordinator. Yeah, you'll have some input or what, but I'll pick the guy. Because there's no way that the head coach of your team, the leader of your team, they didn't watch film on an offensive coordinator and they still hired. No, that couldn't fly. So I feel like the decision was made for Harbaugh. So in my opinion, I know you talked about it possibly being the beginning of the end. I don't think that John Harbaugh's seat is hot, but I do think that it is getting warmer. And then depending on how everything goes with the Lamar Jackson, the contract, whether he gets a contract or not. But if Lamar Jackson doesn't get a contract, then I think the heat gets turned up real hot on Harbaugh, but not only Harbaugh, but on EDC as well. But especially Harbaugh first, though, because now it'll be like, all right, you don't have Lamar anymore. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? How successful or unsuccessful are you going to be moving forward? I think it'll just put all eyes on Harbaugh that much more, but we'll see how it goes.
Glenn, I got to ask you a question real quick. And Ing as well. Is there an outcome where because I agree with Ingraven that, like, just really quickly to preface my question, Steve Bisciotti is known for being loyal to his people. Like, he gives people time to develop. But at what point do you lose urgency if your seat isn't a little hot, right? Like, you're talking about EDC, you're talking about John and things like that. Like, everyone needs some accountability and a push and, you know, a big brother proverbially watching over their shoulder a little bit, and Steve Bisciotti. And so my question really is there any outcome that involves Lamar Jackson not being here that you would say Eric DeCosta won that transaction?
I mean, I don't know if you could ever call it a winner. I think you could say he didn't lose it if he gets a monster windfall of picks and it shows that he goes, you know, Lamar goes elsewhere and does get that fully guaranteed deal that the owner was just here not willing to do. Then we could say, well, Eric DeCosta made the best of a very tough situation, got the most picks for a guy who, you know, was not going to take anything less than fully guaranteed. And his owner, who writes the checks, wasn't going to sign a really guaranteed deal. So in that regard, I guess you could call that not a loss for Eric, in that he had the hand that was dealt to him and made the best of it. But really quickly, I got a quick question. Because I'm not so sure about the hot seat thing being like a needed thing. Like, let me ask you this, Jimbo. Has the threat of you being fired at your job, like, I'm a competitor. Like, I always want to do good at my job. I don't need, like, I find it obnoxious if my boss is hovering over me and the worry and threat of firing is always there. Right. I don't need that. I'm a competitor. Yeah. I'd want to do good at my job.
Because you want to hire the right people that you don't need to supervise anywhere, else why hire them?
Exactly. Like, I don't want a boss to be breathing down my neck constantly going, well, I could replace you tomorrow, you know, like,
right.
I don't like motivation by threat of firing. And if you hire the right guy and the right team, I don't think you need to do that. And I also want to know, like, do you guys think there's a difference between familiarity with a guy and being his friend? Like, I think that a lot of times we say he hires his friend, but I think he hires guys he's familiar. Like, I find it hard to believe that John and Greg Roman are sipping beers together in the offseason at a bar. I think they have familiarity because he coached under his brother and he knows what to expect. So I think oftentimes we get, like, familiarity is one thing. And I think, like you said, Ink, that's league wide. Guys like familiarity because the unknown is scary for a guy who wants to have control. And all these guys are control freaks. So they don't want to have an unfamiliar. So I think familiarity is normal. And I think it's a good thing because the unknown can be a little bit scary. And of course, the unknown, you don't know what you're getting. So,
well, to your point, Glenn, I agree with that in that certainly, like, the familiarity is something that John has done. I don't even think I've said this before. I think John Harbaugh as a coaching recruiter, I think he's one of the best. I think he can recruit a solid staff. He has for years. I think he's good at that. My concern is just there seems like when Matt Judon came out with the tweet, like, that was a big one for me when Matt was like, I've been saying fire this dude because I feel like in a lot of ways, Judon was the atypical Raven in that they drafted him mid-round. He developed here. Yeah. You know what I mean? He was the guy that I feel like should have him and the Ravens should have mutual good feelings towards one another, even though the deal didn't get done. Right. And for him to say that along, obviously with Rashad, I get concerned that there's just some sort of gap between the mentalities of players today. And I don't know if either you saw Derek Wolfe Derek Wolfe's comments on it, you know, talking about how hard they go in training camp and things like that. And Derek Wolfe isn't even he's a vet, right? He's retired now. He's not even in the league anymore. But so that is really what makes me concerned. The hiring, I'm all right with for now, but I do get concerned about that portion of it with John Harbaugh. Yeah, and so I guess what I'm saying, Glenn, with somebody, I agree. There should be someone looking over your shoulder. Give someone space to work. But at some point, once again, I always say this saying, like, and I guess John kind of wins this argument, but you are what the scoreboard says you are, right? And so if you're not getting it done, if players are having issues playing for you, that's a problem. Like, you can't lose the room.
Yeah, I agree. And then on top of that, you don't want anybody breathing down your shoulder, your boss or whatnot, or your manager, whoever it may be, because that can make for an uncomfortable work environment. But at the same time, if you know that you have a job and you know that your job is safe and there's no pressure at all, then even when you failed numerous times, if there's no pressure, you might be like, oh, I'm good. I ain't got nothing to worry about. So yeah, the boss, he's not gonna breathe down my neck because I'm good. I'm cool with the boss. I'm straight. Now, and to go back to when you were talking about, is there any scenario where it could feel like the Ravens won if Lamar Jackson is no longer on the Baltimore Ravens? Let me ask you both a question. Which, under Eric DaCosta thus far, which one of his draft picks is irreplaceable?
No.
Lamar.
Well, I guess Lamar isn't his pick. So are you counting Lamar?
Was Ozzy's last first rounder.
Irreplaceable.
Oh, man. I mean, do we Mark Andrews, right?
Mark Andrews was Ozzy too.
Oh, he was Ozzy.
That was 2018.
Damn.
It's crazy because I feel like the closest thing I could say to.
I mean, I like Linderbaum. I like Kyle, but do I call him irreplaceable?
Right.
I mean, who is irreplaceable outside of a quarterback?
But to me, the closest thing I could say is Linderbaum, but that's a stretch. I mean, that is a stretch, right?
Yeah,
especially since he's only been in the league 1 year.
Yeah, and we'll see how it goes with him. But the reason I asked that question is because if, say, for instance, EDC trades Lamar, gets a boatload of draft picks.
No, don't do this to me.
It's true. What's he gonna do with him?
Oh gosh,
what's he gonna do?
He's gonna keep swinging.
Based off of his history thus far, what's gonna happen? That's something that's very. It's because it should make your stomach hurt because it's concerning.
Because I always envision Eric as like Ozzy 2.0, right? Like he's a wizard in the draft. Like
Ozzy isn't gone, right? He's got a hand in all this.
Right?
Yeah, but I think ultimately he's not gonna stop Eric from doing what he wants to do. If for some reason they meet a fork in the road, from a mentality standpoint. Because look, I don't think Ozzy's taking Marquise Brown the first round. To be honest with you, based on Ozzy's history, I don't think he's doing that. And I'm not saying
Ozzy taking Odafe Owe.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He's not taking Odafe. He's not touching Odafe in the 7th. He ain't doing
up the depth chart, man. Every time I see Odafe Owe's name, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah. So
what could have been? Maybe.
There's certainly a lot of picks that you can tell. I don't think Ozzy would have made. So that's a great point. That is scary because you think about,
what's your confidence level that they could replace him with those draft picks? Especially, let's be honest, Ing, I mean, wherever Lamar goes, he ain't finishing in the bottom 5. Like that pick you're getting from that team ain't gonna be a top 5 pick because he's probably gonna lead his team to the playoffs. So it's probably gonna be, even if you do get a windfall picks, it'll be the 23rd pick. And then next year it'll be the 25th. Like, so it's not like the traditional trade up where you get top end talent. Mm-hmm. That first round pick isn't going to be as valuable probably as your own first round pick because it's likely that he'll be making the playoffs.
Yeah, that's scary too. So it's a lot of different factors, but no, I don't see a scenario where I feel like the Ravens won if they were to trade Lamar, even if they get a boatload of picks. Can they break even? That's I don't even know about that one.
Well, just for Eric to be determined, right? Because some of this, it's just above his head, right? It's Bisciotti.
That's the thing. I am convinced that Bisciotti doesn't want to do two things. He doesn't want to make it a trend, and he doesn't. I don't care. Everyone talks about Bisciotti's net worth, and he's not the poorest owner. He's not. But Bisciotti is one of the owners in the NFL that has the least investment outside of his team. Very much of a high percentage of his net worth is wrapped up in the team. It's not like he has other business endeavors. So the idea of taking $250 million and putting it in an escrow account where you can't touch it for one guy, that'll make you like do one of these. Cause like, you know what I mean? You still got how many other guys that you're going to guarantee portions of money to that you got to put in all these separate accounts. And so I don't know if he can swing it. Now, one thing that he said was you can't take it with you when you're dead.
And let me ask you this. I got to get your take on this thing. How much – look, they got analytics guys, right? They got numbers guys. They talk about it all the time. They got number crunchers. There's got to be a ballpark, a range, some figure that Lamar Jackson brings like this amount of value to your franchise. He brings this amount of any eyes. He brings this amount of merchandise
in all the ways that you can monetize the likeness of Lamar Jackson.
However you want to, because I know every time your emblem is on the Sports Center page, how many times we're reading the top 10 before Lamar was here? There wasn't a lot of top 10 plays representing the Ravens until Lamar. And then when he got here, it was every other week we got a number one play. So how much... Yeah, you're losing. You got to put that money aside. But how much are you gaining by just having that guy on your team? And doesn't that more than make up for what you might be having to stash away for a little while?
Yeah, it just all depends on how much you truly value that player in person. Obviously, Lamar Jackson, he brings so much attention to the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, we see it right now too, and they haven't even played since January. But Lamar Jackson is like he brings so much eyes. The fans come to see him. And when he's not there, if like fans know for sure, hey, Lamar's not playing, they're just like, I don't really know if I want to go to the game. I notice it with the live streams. If we live streaming during the game and Lamar's already been ruled out, I see the views are a lot lower than they would if Lamar was actually playing.
All you got to do is put Lamar in your title. It's the magic button.
Not if it says Lamar's not playing, watch live.
No, you know what I'm saying? Like if you do a video, that's true. That's the other way. But Ing, I got to ask you this question. Because we've talked about this. We're starting to see a couple players get the tag now. Lamar hasn't gotten the tag yet.
Not yet. Right?
Does that make you believe that there are actually ongoing conversations? The only reason I ask is Eric said multiple times that Lamar and I are talking, I think to kind of dispute the reports that Lamar didn't answer the phone for him and things like that. Like he was trying to make that clear that he has the clout to like talk to Lamar. So he wanted to, just reemphasize that.
I would hope he's answering his calls.
Sure. Well, there's a report that he wasn't.
Oh my goodness.
Right. So my question is, why do you think the tag, whichever tag it is, which, I mean, we're under the assumption it's going to be non-exclusive, but why do you think it hasn't been put on him yet? Like, why wait if they're going to do it?
Because Ravens do this with everything. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but Ravens, they wait till the very end to do something. They do it like every year. Like, for instance, when the 53-man roster is announced, we'll see all these teams. The Chicago Bears, they got down to 53 men, and it'll be a couple days left before the deadline. We see the Cowboys got down, the Bengals, but we don't really hear much about the Ravens all up until 3:59 p.m. on that Tuesday. That's when we start hearing everything because the deadline is at 4 p.m. It's like, the Ravens got down to 53 men, and then we see the roster announced because they do stuff at the very end. And with Lamar Jackson, like this thing has been getting pushed past the very end. Obviously, they went to his 5th-year option. He ended up playing on that. Now they've gone through the 5th-year option, and free agency is right around the corner. But the franchise tag deadline is right around the corner. And I wouldn't expect them to put the franchise tag on him before the deadline. I think they will really try to hit him up, call him, talk to him, and really try to exhaust all options to try to get something done, if they really do want to get something done, but try to really get something done, just to try to make it happen before the deadline. And if worse come to worse, they can't get it done, then the franchise tag is applied at the very last minute. But something that you said, I got to ask you a question on it, because you did talk about how you do anticipate Lamar Jackson receiving the franchise tag, but you said you anticipated being the non-exclusive tag?
Oh, excuse me. I meant the exclusive tag.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. I don't have a question anymore.
Yeah. No, not the non-exclusive.
Hell no.
Sorry.
That would just be, hey, who wants Lamar?
Because really quickly, I want to get to Marco's comments real quick, and then I have a follow-up statement. We kind of passed over this. Marco, very poor choice of words by EDC, but Giro and Saunders is on Harbs. That's true. Those two are absolutely on him. They allow those two to stay this long, or to allow those two to stay this long is darn near criminal negligence. I think Saunders is.
Yes. Giro, I don't call it that, because he at least, like we talk about, everybody talks about Gary Kubiak's year here. He was 9th in the league. We got to 1 with Greg Roman. Not even so much better than any offense we ever seen here. So I can understand going, well, you at least you had some excuses if you're Greg Roman. You go, look at these injuries. What can I do with these injuries? Let me have one more year. Look what we did in 19. Look how great we were. Let's have one more. I can get why he stuck around with Greg Roman. But Saunders, He was the source of the super spreader. He gave COVID to Lamar. That's enough. Yeah, I'm tired of it.
That's right. As soon as he tests positive, you're at it.
Like, how did they keep this guy around? Like, that's the one. Yeah, I get it. I'm with you. It's ridiculous. I mean, you talk about players coming out. We saw multiple players, guys I haven't heard of in a long time, guys that were just really fringe guys on the roster. We saw Carlton Davis talk about him, former D tackle, come out and say, basically that guy's making them do things that they knew would put their body at risk. And then he goes to John and says that the guy's being combative and doesn't want to lift. That's crazy. You got to get rid of that guy. I don't understand why he was here as long as he was. I'm glad the guy's gone because, wow, I mean, the reports coming out are unbelievable.
Hey, Ing, do you hear Glenn kind of robotic?
Yeah, a little tiny feedback. I think it was all that yelling. It upset the mic a little bit. But it's all good, man.
No, but so let me ask you this question then. And this is really the question. First of all, really quickly, Marco also commented that Bisciotti owns Aerotech. Bisciotti founded Aerotech, but he divested from it to buy the Ravens. Oh. In fact, I know for a fact that he's complained to some of the other founders that they're making more money than him.
I didn't know that.
He's been like, dang, like if I only stuck around, right? But obviously it's cool to be an owner of an NFL team, right?
Yeah,
so
I'll take that.
He's majorly divested from Aerotech, but he was the founder.
Am I still robotic?
No, you sound good to me.
All right.
We'll let you know if it changes. But really, Ming, my question is this: what ultimately do you believe happens? And I want to know your answer to that. And then to both of you, I have a follow-up question about the contract and about Steve Bisciotti. But ultimately, deal done.
Hold on.
Deal done.
Before and answer this while you answer that. What is more like, do you think there's pressure from the outside from other owners saying, Steve, we can't go down this road?
Oh, yeah.
If he gets it, everyone gets it. And then also, do you foresee issues? Because once Lamar gets it, then every quarterback's going to get a fully guaranteed, and then left tackles, then pass rushers, then wideouts. Eventually, the whole league will be guaranteed. Do you see that as a problem, especially when you look at NBA and you hear the criticisms of load management, guys resting, for back-to-backs and stuff? Do you see it as a problem that guys will get fully guaranteed deals? And then also, how do you see this ultimately, the outcome?
Yeah, I think there's definitely pressure from other owners to Bisciotti. I mean, Bisciotti already came out and said about when Deshaun Watson got his that this is not what we're trying to do. But yeah, it's definitely pressure from other owners. Probably I'm sure they're having plenty of side conversations and whatnot. Like, hey, Bisciotti, don't do it, man. Don't do it. Don't follow Jimmy and them. Don't follow those Browns. Don't do it. So that's definitely I think that's the case for sure. As far as what I think, hold up, I skipped the question. What was the other question after that?
Ultimately,
do you think it would be a problem?
Oh, a problem. Yeah,
everyone gets guaranteed.
I don't think it would necessarily be a problem, but I think if it starts to be more of a trend, then I think the NFL could possibly change the way that they do the salary cap. I think they would definitely really, really look into it and maybe put quarterbacks in their own tier, do something to where they do something with the salary cap, because that would obviously change. Like, I think this year they haven't restructured anything yet, but I think Deshaun Watson's cap hit is like $59 million, something like that. So that's a lot of money. It's significant, and we know that the salary cap is going to continue to increase every year to get new deals like YouTube TV. They just got the
$14
Sunday
billion.
Ticket. Yeah, so NFL making plenty of money. But as far as what I think the outcome is going to be, I think Lamar is going to get traded. I don't think he's going to be with the Baltimore Ravens anymore. I would love to be wrong about that, but I don't think he's going to be with the team anymore. I just for a while, past couple of years, I've just really been thinking about that and just looking at the way that the team has been constructed from personnel to coaching. And the way that things have been done and the way that some things have not been done. And I don't feel like this team fully really invested in Lamar Jackson. I don't feel like they really believed in Lamar Jackson because of how they've constructed the team. So much money continues to be put into the defense. And hey, they got some nice players and whatnot, but when you look at offense, it's like they go for scraps, they go for leftovers. Like even this year was his 5th-year option. It's like, all right, 5th-year option. We've been talking to Lamar Jackson, and publicly they say, hey, we want to get a contract done. Lamar's talked about, he's talked to them, they negotiated and whatnot. All right, so I would think that with the 5th-year option, 23 mil is the cheapest that Lamar is ever going to be in his entirety of his career. So take advantage of that. So what do? They trade Hollywood away. All right, you traded Hollywood away. He wanted to leave. Okay, what receiver are you getting ready to draft? Because I know you're getting ready to draft one. Draft came and went, didn't draft the receiver. Stuck with Rashad Bateman. Bateman's cool. They went and picked up DeMarcus Robinson. It's like, okay, cool. All right, Devin Duvernay, I guess he's going to step up. Prochet going to get more of an opportunity. Maybe Tylan Wallace too. Obviously, still got Mark Andrews. Isaiah likely had a monster preseason, so let's see how he does in the regular season. But they went into the regular season, and it was just like, oh, okay, this is what we rolling with at wide receiver. Oh, okay. All right, hope for the best. Let's see how it works. And then during the season, of course, there were injuries and whatnot, and that obviously sucks. But they went and got Deshaun Jackson after he talked about them on the I Am Athlete podcast. He gave him a shout out. They got Deshaun, 34-year-old Deshaun Jackson, and he couldn't even finish a game. And he still got the speed now, but that speed was limited because he only got it for like 1 or 2 plays a game. And then they went and they were like, all right, Deshaun Jackson, all right, cool, whatever. Sammy Watkins. Let's bring old Sammy back when he got cut from the Green Bay Packers. And you know what? It was funny because so many people, so many Ravens fans too, they just knew it was coming. When they saw Sammy Watkins got cut from the Packers, so many Ravens fans knew it was coming. Then boom, they ended up getting him. So I've just seen such a lack of investment in Lamar Jackson. And it still seems like too with the offense, not just the personnel, but with the offense, seem like they want to hold it back. They want to continue to restrict it. It just seems like they just don't believe in him. So with all that being said, and the way that this whole thing has went thus far, and you're at this point and there's still no contract yet, I don't think there will be one. I hope there's one though, but I don't think there will be. And I think they're going to trade him.
Oh my goodness.
Breaking my heart here. Now, this is my follow-up question because I go back and forth whether or not I agree. Like some days I'm like, he's gone. Some days I think he's still here. But this is really my question, Glenn, and I want to get your answer from both of you. If you believe Josina Anderson's reporting, which, like you said at the beginning, in like we don't really know what's going on here, but if you believe her reporting that he doesn't want less guaranteed money than Deshaun Watson, but it doesn't need to be a guaranteed 100% guaranteed contract, but he doesn't want less guaranteed money than him. So if that is the case, why the heck not give him whatever it is, $235 guaranteed, and make the, the guaranteed portion of it, and then give him the, 300 over, I'm just throwing arbitrary numbers out there, but say 350 over 8 years. And then you spread this guaranteed money out so the cap hit is not like Deshaun Watson's hit. Because then you can do similar to what they do with Mahomes, not to the same extremes because Mahomes had even less guarantees, but you can administer that guaranteed portion so that his cap hit every year is lower because he has a longer contract. So the reason I'm asking this question, I want to know, this to me seems like a simple solution. And it points to the fact that, once again, I don't think Bisciotti wants to put the money in the lockbox. It's just too much money for him to put in the shelf. But if the reporting is true, why would they not? Like, what would be your argument in contrary to that if you're Eric DeCosta outside of Steve doesn't want to cut the check? Like, is there any other feasible argument when you're Eric and you can manage the cap with a contract with that money on it, but maybe some longer terms?
I mean, I got to go back to what I was just saying a minute ago. I don't think that they would be invested in him like that, and like an 8 to 10 year deal. Yeah. I just don't see them wanting to do something like that. It is, of course, possible. Anything's possible. I don't see it because that's a long time, and I don't even think that Lamar would want to. And I know he said, "Hey, I want to be a Raven for life." I get that. That's cool, but an 8 to 10 year deal. That's a long time. And now if you're getting paid, hey, cut the check, make it happen. Let's get this money, baby. But I just wonder if what all of his priorities would be with the Baltimore Ravens if he signed a deal like that. Obviously, we saw Mahomes, he did that, and then a couple years later ended up winning another Super Bowl, which was great because Mahomes is He's that dude. But with Lamar Jackson, I just wonder how he would look at something like that. Like, obviously, first priority, get paid, get your bread, get your money. Love it. Got no problem with that. But then I would wonder, like, how would he look at the way that the Ravens have done things? And now he would be getting a much higher salary. But I know he wanted to be a billionaire, but he also talked about he wanted to win championships. So what, based off of what the Ravens have done these past 5 years, well, past 3 or 4 years, because I can't count the first year, and then 2019 was a nice surprise for everybody. So I say these past 3 years, based off of what they've done these past 3 years, what leads you to believe that now that your salary will be much higher and your cap hit will be much higher? What leads you to believe as a player that you're going to be surrounded with even better talent, that you're going to be surrounded with even better guys that can help you all win? So again, obviously the money is the first priority, and I'm sure winning is a close second, but how invested? Now, obviously, if they gave him a contract, they would be invested in him, but how invested would they be into really winning instead of just being competitive?
Man, you know what? We got to remember that this team should have beaten the Bengals with a backup quarterback in the playoffs, and then who knows what happens, right? We got to remember this team was not that far away.
That's true.
You know, if Tyler Huntley goes low there, they win the game with Tyler Huntley. I think that's fair to say. And then the Bengals destroyed the Bills. So I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibility the Ravens could have made something happen, especially if Lamar was able to get healthy for that following game. But Jimmy, I don't think it's the money in the escrow account. I don't think that, because Steve, it sounds like reports are that he's okay with a $200 million guarantee, just not 231. So I don't think that 31 million is what's stopping him. I think it's the precedent that they're going to be setting and knowing that every quarterback so let me ask this then. If they decide to do the exclusive the exclusive tag, I always get that switched up, and they just kick the can down the road and they continue to try and negotiate until the season. And in that time, Joe Burrow signs a deal that's not fully guaranteed, and Justin Herbert signs a deal that's not fully guaranteed. Does that change Lamar Jackson's demands? And say, because then Eric DeCosta can say, look, Joe Burrow went to an AFC championship, went to a Super Bowl. He's not asking for $235 million guaranteed.
Jalen Hurts as well went to the Super Bowl.
If all those guys get paid and none of them surpass the guarantees that Deshaun Watson got, does this not help bolster Eric DeCosta's position and say, look, you know, that was an outlier. That was one crazy owner desperate to change this whole, because look, the narrative is don't go to Cleveland. It's the factory of sadness. They're absolute garbage. They go through quarterbacks like you go through underwear. So he had to do something crazy and drastic to get a guy that he thought was a guy. And so they overpaid like, don't you think Eric could say, look, every guy, how many guys have been signed? Because that'd been Russell Wilson. That'll be like 6 guys since that deal that haven't gotten to that guarantee. Would that not help? Do you think that could help maybe bridge the gap and maybe cause Lamar to maybe take a look? Because we're not seeing much compromise from this side. We're seeing a little compromise from this side, none from this side.
Yeah, based on I think I roll with DK on this. I feel like that's the issue is that we don't know, right? Like, we're grasping at straws when it comes to this reporting, but is there negotiating happening, or is there just demands being, sat at the desk of somebody, right? So like because a negotiation is always going to feel like you lost at the end of the day a little bit, right? Like, there's never ever a true negotiation unless you're robbing what is the saying? Taking candy from a baby, right? Like, sure, maybe if you were dealing with I don't know, some terrible GM out there that I can't think of currently, but Bill, who's the Bill O'Brien when he was the GM and coach of the Texans? Oh yeah. Sure. Then like you can steal candy from a baby, but I don't know. I mean, I really what it comes down to, if that isn't the issue, then Glenn and Ing, I'll swing this back to you, because if that isn't the issue, if the money isn't the issue and Lamar still gets dealt, that means I think that everything in Raven is spot on. Their feelings towards Lamar aren't what ours are. Because if the money's not the problem,
the precedent's the problem.
Man, you really think that to me, if I'm Steve and I'm worried about the precedents, I'm talking to all the other 31 owners. I'm saying, kick rocks, dude. I got number 8. I don't care. Guess what?
Well, yeah, but the problem is then he's going to get guaranteed. Then every player after that is going to want guaranteed money.
Yeah, to me, you make the Bengals pay the price. Then make them pay. Make the dudes that make you share jock straps pay the price, right? Like make them do that. Make the
okay.
You know what I mean? Like. Competitive.
It's risky because it's not just going to be quarterbacks. Then it's going to be left tackles. Then it's going to be wideouts. Then it's going to be pass rush. And then it's going to be the whole league. The whole league will be guaranteed, and we'll see load management.
Yeah. Why do you feel? Oh, do you feel like it'll be load management because people will be like, all right, I got my money and it's coming.
Yeah. I mean, we see it in the NBA every night, and we see older players criticizing these young guys, saying, "Look, man, some kids get one ticket a year." I think Richard Jefferson said, "Look, when I was a kid, I got taken to one game." And if I came to that one game and my favorite player was resting when he's healthy, what is that? I mean, that's, the steel, like Charles Barkley said, the steel mill worker who's tired as a dog on Wednesday, does he get to rest? No, he goes to work. So I worry that we're going to start to see load management and guys making business decisions and not showing up to games.
Okay, because and initially when you talked about that earlier, I was thinking, it would actually be in reverse. Because if guys are like, all right, I'm getting my money regardless, then hey, I can play worry free. If I get injured, hey, I'm getting my money regardless. But yeah, that's a really good point that you make about that possible load management of guys maybe taking plays off or whatnot. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, as far as the president, I do think that depending on what happens with Jalen Hurts, with a Joe Burrow, with a Justin Herbert, maybe
fire.
I don't really think Tua will have much impact on it. I don't even think they're going to sign him. I know a report came out today that the Dolphins are interested in re-sign. I don't think they're going to give him an extension though. But anyway, that I do wonder. That's a really, really good question. Will it possibly change Lamar's stance on how much guaranteed money he's asking for? And I don't know. I don't know because. Yeah, they will definitely like Ravens. That's what you're supposed to do in negotiations. You're supposed to pull out all the shots in order, like orderly, not all at once, but you're supposed to pull out all the shots eventually, and use that ammo to help your case. And Ravens, they could do that for whatever Joe Burrow ends up getting. He made it to 2 AFC championships in a row. For every season that he's been healthy, they've been playing to play in the Super Bowl. And Jalen Hurts, talk about him. He just made a Super Bowl, like you mentioned. Justin Herbert, I mean, he ain't really got no accomplishments, but hey, he's another good quarterback. Yeah, there you go. But he's cool though. I like Justin Herbert too. You know what's crazy too? I know this is a little side note. With Jalen Hurts, are y'all for sure that he's gonna get paid by the Eagles?
I feel like he is.
I think he will, but I agree, though. They were unsure about him until this year, and A.J. Brown made him look a whole – I mean
What about Justin Herbert? Are you for sure that he's going to get paid by the Chargers?
I think he'll –
The only reason – I think he'll get paid by the Chargers, but the Chargers have a way of fumbling, like, on the 1 yard line, right? Like, the Chargers are goofy like that, right? Like, how many
rookies – didn't they get a new – who's their coach now?
No, they didn't get a new coach. They got a new.
Oh, that's right. They fired their OC. They blamed on their OC.
And they picked up the Cowboys OC. That's a recipe for success. Nice.
Now, what about Joe Burrow? You feel like he's going to get paid by the Bengals?
Yeah, I think he's going to get paid by the Bengals, and I think the deal's going to be like Mahomes, where they're going to have a ton of flexibility every year to take that money and say, "Bam, here's your bonus beginning of the year, salary cap." Like
right. So with those three guys, you all answer, boom, boom, boom. Yes, they're going to get paid. Yes, they're going to get paid. Yes, they're going to get paid. Answer right away. But it's not like that with Lamar Jackson.
Well, it was 2 years ago. I would have said, hell yeah, Ing. Well, sign this guy. He ain't going nowhere. Are you crazy?
2 years later, we have no clue. But with Lamar, like I said, it is a really good thing to think about. If those other guys, or when those other guys get paid, will it make Lamar sort of change his stance or change the tune?
I don't think it will.
Do you think the Players Association might be using Lamar? Like I work because I heard the guy talk about. I think it was DeMaurice Smith. He said one bad contract for one is a bad contract for all. Like, do you think they're using Lamar Jackson, knowing, look, this is a guy who will dig his heels in. This is a guy who said, "I'm not running at the combine. I'm a quarterback. I'm not going to let you run me through all these agility drills and try and change my position. So they know he has the ability to stand pat, dig his heels in, and said, no, I'm not doing that. Do you think they're using him almost like a pawn to get that guaranteed deal, knowing what that will do for all the guys after him? Like, I worry that they're using this guy to get what they want for other guys.
I think they definitely could be. I think they're definitely trying to influence his decision and really tell, hey, Lamar, stand 10 toes down on that fully guaranteed contract, man. Don't back down. Because there's been other things that he hasn't backed down from before. And we know it, and with him being such a polarizing player, like if you're in the NFL and you get to the point where they can call you by one name and everybody knows who you are, oh yeah, you made it. So with Lamar, he's one of those guys, and obviously he even with that report that came out the other day, even though it seemed like Lamar Jackson refuted it about him not getting that shoe deal or whatever, but we've seen him in commercials and stuff. We see him with the Pro Air video game on the Oculus, which is really fun. I don't know if y'all got to play it or not, but that game is really fun. But he has different like endorsements and contract sponsorships and all that and whatnot. But I think as far as the NFLPA, they could be thinking like, all right, this guy is really popular and he's obviously the face of the Baltimore Ravens and just got at so many people know in the NFL. Like I know like friends and family who not even in the football like that, but they know who Lamar Jackson is. So if he can help, and obviously he doesn't change a lot with the game of NFL itself, but if he could change the game from the business side with this, and that could really help the NFLPA out too. Yeah, I think they definitely trying to push him a bit.
Let Burrow be your guy. Just pick somebody else to be your guy. I don't want our guy to be your guy.
Well, let me just throw one scenario out at you guys that is a Madden-like scenario, in my opinion. Let's see. Anyone get Dove?
Yeah, he's getting Manny Machado feels here. Oh,
I don't like that.
Accidentally.
Now, I'm not a baseball guy. What happened with him?
Well, it's just Manny was our guy. I mean, he got drafted here, got brought up, turned
super
into
young,
a superstar third baseman, and then didn't want to stick around. So now he's just signed a $350 million deal with the Padres, and so man, I don't want to see that because this
is the second one. I mean, this is a re-up.
Well, he got traded initially to the Dodgers, right? If I remember correctly.
And then when he hit the Padres the first time, and then this is their second contract.
Yeah, man, I don't want to see those.
No, I don't like that. I mean, from a personality standpoint, I don't even think they have much in common. Manny's a loafer. Like, say what it is. I mean, Manny's an incredible player, but I don't consider Lamar a loafer.
I don't know about Man. I mean, Manny's he's all-star.
He's incredible talent, but he said it himself. He ain't Johnny Hustle.
No, you talking about because he got criticized for not running out at first and stuff like that. Well, JL says Steve will make money on the back end signing Lamar. You can give him Watson money without the horrendous structuring. Example, 23 to 30 million, 24, 40, and 56 for the next 3 years when the cap has exploded. Yeah, I mean, there's ways to structure it to where you can balance it. And that's what I think what you're kind of getting at, Jimbo, is make it a 6-year deal. It really doesn't matter because after 4, they're going to renegotiate, or after 5, he'll never see the actual back end of that deal. So it's just for accounting purposes to spread out the signing bonus. But I get it. It's just tough though. It's such a complex question. It's not as simple as should they sign this guy. This has ramifications of future NFL players. This has, I mean, this is a huge, huge deal for not just the Ravens, not just Lamar, but for the entire NFL and the future of NFL players.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. We got this one. Did we put this one up?
Man. No, not yet.
Let's see. Do you think there's any chance that Bateman gets traded for comments? Do you think Harbaugh runs the show more than EDC?
Hashtag free Ingraven. I love it.
Yeah, I know, for real.
Hopefully soon, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you think there's any chance Bateman gets traded for comments? No.
Or demands a trade? Because we know one thing. If you ask for a trade here in Baltimore,
will give it to you.
They'll give it to you.
So there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't let the door hit you on the way out.
He did apologize, guys. Let's say this. He took down the tweet and he said, I apologize, or something to that degree.
Yeah. And then do you think Harbaugh runs the show more than EDC? I think it's a partnership, and it really depends on what sphere of responsibility you're talking about. I don't think they mess with each other's roles. And so I don't know if it's one more than the other. But let me ask you guys this question.
Hold on, I got to know. Does he get moved, Ing?
Oh.
I don't even know right now because it just all of this stuff that happened today is just so similar to what happened with Hollywood. So initially, I'm gonna be like, no, he ain't going nowhere. It's just a tweet. He was frustrated or whatnot, but it was just a tweet, and he was frustrated. Hollywood was just frustrated. But I don't know, man. I don't
tell me no, Ing. Thank you.
I'm gonna say no for now, but if we start hearing more from Rashad Bateman, and obviously, like somebody from Ravens PR to, hey, Rashad, take that tweet down, like they did with Hollywood too. It just can you issue a public apology or something, just so everything will be cool, because we done got enough heat today already. But I just, I say no for now.
Yeah. All right. Let me ask you guys this, because I've been sitting on this one the whole show. Once again, this could be this could be a Madden type scenario, but is there any way, if they decide to turn the page on Lamar Jackson era, that they call up the Bears and they say, give us the one, give us who you got, what's his name?
Fields.
Fields. Give us Fields in the one, and you get Lamar. I don't think that's enough. I don't even think that's enough for Lamar Jackson. But say we'll just start there. The other stuff could be details. Is that it? So then this is what I thought. Okay, if that happens, you throw Fields in there, you see what he's got, and then you take that number 1 pick, which everyone is vying for Bryce Young, and you get a haul so people can move up. Then you don't have 5 picks anymore. You got Eric wants 15, so Eric's dreams come true. He's got all these picks again, which obviously Ingraven loves. But to me, if something like that comes across Eric's table, if it's tempting to someone like any of us who like draft picks, imagine how hard it would be for Eric to push that plate away and say, no, thank you. No, thank you. You know what I mean? So question is, do you think that's a conversation that could be had? Do you think the Bears would even do something like that?
I think they would. I know that they are the team. They're either the number 1 team or number 2 team that has the most cap space going into this offseason. I know they're really high up there. I think it's like 100 mil or 97 mil, something like that. Something super crazy that obviously we're not used to, because Ravens do spend to the cap every year. I think they could actually do that, but without Justin Fields. And just to try to get more draft picks, and then have the Bears do whatever else with Justin Fields, trade him somewhere else. But I think that's a real possibility, especially because it's an NFC team.
They've obviously traded before.
Yeah,
with Roquan, they know each other.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that. Wow. That's a really good point, because like we've seen it before. If you're the familiarity, not John Harbaugh this time, but with EDC, if you're familiar with another GM, and like you mentioned, and great point that you've done business with them before, that can make it easy to do business with them again. So yeah, I think it is really possible. Just without Justin Fields though, for the draft, but to get more draft.
To get picks. More instead of Justin Fields, you get more picks. Interesting, Glenn.
Yeah, I mean, I think. It was pretty, I think they view Lamar Jackson as a top of the end talent at quarterback, and I don't think they would see Justin Fields in that same regard. So I heard Eric DeCosta say they value good players, and they certainly value quarterback. So I don't think that's enough. And I will say this though, Eric talked.
Well, yeah, you add more to that, but those would be the headlines, right? Like a first, the number 1 pick. And Justin Fields.
No, I get it. It would be a lot. It would be multiple first-round picks for many years, and they get their second rounder probably back that they gave up for Roquan. Like, give me that back. We gave you that. I want that shit back too. And then all the other stuff. No, I mean, I think the Bears would love to do that deal. I mean, my goodness, they would. I would expect they would love it. And if the Ravens did do it, they better go get Greg Roman, bring his ass right back. We got Justin Fields. We need Greg Roman back.
Well, look at how well Justin Fields did in college, and you got a guy that just came from college.
No, you know what I mean? Like, absolutely. Todd Monken would probably, but no. Look, here's what's going to happen, guys.
Okay,
I'm going to tell you what is going to happen. We can stop all this.
Glenn is manifesting this so.
This is what's going to happen. He's going to sign in the next week. And he's going to be the long-term quarterback here. Lamar Jackson's going absolutely nowhere.
So he's going to sign in the next week.
Yeah, he's going to sign before that tag. It has to even be placed upon him.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
So what will happen? Right. What are we putting on the table if he doesn't sign in a week?
Look, that's my opinion now today. Okay. That's subject to change, Jimbo. But no.
Fair enough.
And most of this is just me being optimistic because I can't imagine. Like, can you even imagine watching Lamar Jackson dice us up? Like, I don't ever want to see. Look, I know Cincinnati hates when they see that Houdini pick. That clip when he is Houdini. I know they hate it. And I know one thing: if Lamar were to ever play against the Ravens, he'd put on a highlight reel. That
he would, man.
Break out the gold cleats. Yeah, he'd do it up.
Yeah, it'd be bad. So I'm gonna say he's gonna be here because that's what I hope happens.
Good luck there we go.
Well, it's been an absolute blast tonight. We got one more. We got one more super chat, and then we will let you out of here. We'll wrap this thing up. Let's see. On the 30 for 30, Bishotti hired John to change the favoritism on the defensive side, but spend on just defense 2020 or 2012 to 2023. I'm confused. We did make Joe Flacco a ridiculously high-paid quarterback.
Yeah, he got his bread.
So, but I don't know. This one's a tough one for me. The only thing I'll say about this is that sometimes it just kind of depends on how your roster is constructed as far as where you're going to spend your money and return on investment. So, if you have to spend $150 million, once again, arbitrary number, to turn around the offense, or 25 to make your defense elite, and you can't spend.
And also, you don't want to just spend on, because you could end up with Kenny Galladay as your receiver. Because 2 years ago, everybody wanted Kenny Galladay.
I know, I was beat on the table.
Look where he's at. So there just hasn't been a great group of wideouts available, other than if you go to try and make a trade, which they haven't, done. There just hasn't been a lot of wideouts out there. But they bolstered the offensive line. They got great tight ends, got great backs. So it's really just wideout that's been the issue.
And play calling too.
Well,
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. The funny thing, really quickly, though, is that Bateman, before he got hurt, was doing under Greg Roman.
Look, Lamar Jackson was the AFC Offensive Player of the Month for September. Let's not forget that they were looking pretty damn good in September until the injuries.
But the situational stuff, the red zone is insane. It was
inexcusable, and you can't have no play. Anyway, we don't have to talk about Greg Roman's inefficiencies. But I want to comment. Read this comment here. I really think our ownership is broke and can't pay big players. We always give away players just because. Now, we have to remember that Roquan Smith is the highest paid player at his position in the NFL history, and he just got signed.
Broke is a strong word.
Do you guys think, and this is kind of off topic a little bit here, but all of the last big signings have come mid-season. Was it a big tactical mistake for Lamar to shut down negotiations? Because we saw Ronnie Stanley sign his extension mid-season, and Eric DeCosta said he couldn't kick him out of the office. After practice, he's always in there negotiating. Roquan Smith in season, Marlon Humphrey in season. When's the last big name Raven extended
in the offseason?
In the offseason, they've all been in season. So I wonder if that was kind of a tactical mistake, not negotiating midseason.
You can get it, you know what I mean, like to be singularly focused, right? But yeah, that's a good point.
Man, that's a really good question. That's a good point. Yeah, most of those deals, even Marcus Peters, when he got his extension, it was in the last week.
Did you mention Marlon as well?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's hard to tell if he's got money or not. What the tactic is there. McChickens, thank you, Asmodeus.
Man,
and shout out to Asmodeus as well. This is awesome. Ing, shout out to you, man. Love you, Ravens Nation. Ing Ravens. Some of this is for you, brother. You bring so much love to the community. God bless.
No doubt.
Yes, 100%. All this is for you, my man. So, look, we got to help one another out, and we hope that everything works out, because a world where Ingraven, we don't get to, that was just weird to me. Yeah. It's like Ravens, YouTube, we do our show. No, it would just be weird to Ingraven, what? You gotta be, you're a mainstay. You know what I mean? So shout out to Smodius. Shout out for you for coming on, man.
Nah, I appreciate
we hope it all works out. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, I guess, is the only thing I can say.
Nah, yeah, it's all good, man. It's been like just a lesson with patience. It's been a real lesson with patience and just really just hoping it all works out too, man. Obviously just cleaning up some stuff on the channel that YouTube felt like wasn't right. I said, okay, this their platform, their rules. All right, cool, no problem. So yeah, we'll just see how it goes at the end of March, and hopefully we get some really, really great news.
There you go, man. We're hoping for the best. We are so grateful for you for coming out tonight.
Yes, thank you.
And for all you guys coming out and enjoying it. Like I said before, if you guys don't know where to catch Ingraven, obviously YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Where aren't you is the better question, right? Like
Snapchat, TikTok. I don't use that anymore. But
there you go.
Yeah, but everything else, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, everything is all Ingravenvids, all one word, just like the channel. So appreciate y'all again, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Least we could do. Appreciate you always being there. Whenever we call.
Yep, every time, man.
You're just a legend. Let's call it what it is. You're a legend. All right. So I appreciate you coming on. This is the least we could do. I just wish hopefully in the future we can make these more often, where we visit each other.
Absolutely. Come down from your tower and hang out with us in the
dungeon down here.
That's right.
See, I was trying to link up with y'all this past summer, but y'all were like out of the country or something like that. The day I was flying in, that's when y'all were flying out or something like that. I said,
Jimmy's a jet setter, man. Jimmy's a jet. He's going off to the Canary Island. I mean, this guy is a jet setter. Meanwhile, I've never even been on a plane in my life. I'm 35 years old. It's embarrassing. Yeah, I know. It's embarrassing.
That's all right. This coming season, we're going to an away game.
Yeah.
Okay. Do Jacksonville.
Oh, there we go. We'll come visit you.
Do Jacksonville. Yeah, we can link up in Jacksonville. We'll figure something out. I wish they played the Dolphins this year, but in Miami. But the Dolphins game is at M&T Bank. But it's all good.
Absolutely. No, man, we appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming out. That's it for us tonight. Enjoy your evening and have a great night.